Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.
Hello everyone, it's that time of the week, but don't ask me what the time is for. You would find you get to know very, very soon. But I'm Cyril Abak, of course. Maybe it's a bit strange to have me on this side of the conversation, but of course I'm going to be driving this afternoon. The program is called Let's Talk About Tomorrow. It's that podcast of podcasts I've been waiting for. We're here finally. Let's talk about what we want to talk about today after the break. Stay tuned. Alright, welcome back. There you have the whole house here. I'm just going to have the courtesy of telling us what we're going to be talking about, but then I throw the mic open to everyone. It's a democracy, isn't it?
It is.
Yes. Everybody with me this long. Today I want to talk about dealing with, it's the word nobody wants to hear, but David, I'm it's not something you want to hear all the time.
We don't want to hear it.
Okay, so that's David Igo. He's one of us here. Esther Ojache is in the studio with me. I have Barrister Eva Sofeli, and of course, to my immediate left is Petrina. Maybe I should begin with you, Petrina. We want to talk about that word. You don't like hearing it as a student. You don't want to hear it at all. Sapa. Dealing with Sapa. How do you deal with Sapa? Let me begin with you, Esther. Let me look Petrina. Let me go to Esther.
Okay, how I deal with Sapa. There's no two ways about it. Like we all know.
No, but wait. You are going too far. Let's even begin.
Okay.
Let's even start from the beginning.
Okay.
What is Sapa? What is this thing
It
called Sapa?
simply means poverty.
I know they say something is sap. To sap means to tap, to take in. So it's a Sapa.
Sapa is poverty.
Is it being broke or being poor?
Being broke.
It's being broke.
Being broke.
Being
It's
broke.
not being broke.
Yeah.
Because typically, Sapa is supposed to be temporary.
Exactly.
So it comes and goes. So,
Yeah,
that kind of
But it's never a welcome guest.
Never. Never.
It's usually not funny.
Why?
Why again? It's not funny now. When you are broke, it's usually not funny.
Petrina is so angry. She does. Why am I even asking the question?
Like seriously.
Let me come to you, Petrina.
Because when you don't have money, you can't even afford to buy data. You can't buy data. You can't buy food.
Okay, so hold
do
on.
anything at all without money.
Let's even face it. The first thing she said was data,
Obviously.
and then food.
Yeah.
I don't want to back and say data is life.
Yeah.
Why is data the first thing we talk about? Dave, let me come to you.
Okay, for...
Is data the first thing?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I can absolutely relate to when she prioritized data over food. It's because when talking about data, that is where you talk to your friends, you see what they are up to, you see what you're missing. You're trying to, you are just abreast across broad, anything that concerns school, family, and everything. And of course, entertainment. Mm-hmm. You are there. As it's happening, you are feeling it. Mm-hmm. You are not receiving stale news. Mm-hmm. So without data, you are just waiting for the world to happen and come and tell you stories. And
so does data come before food?
It's arguable, but for some of us, we know we can sort food, but data is depressing me.
What makes me have the feeling that prioritizing data is a Gen Z sort of thing?
You see, I'm very excited. I'm with Gen Z. These are the generation where, like I tell them in my office, please, I need 2 persons to help me moderate all the Gen Zs. Before, you have to filter them before they come, because they come across so fast. The speed in their head is unimaginable. Mm-hmm. Their rebellion is either positive or negative, but it's so fast and smart. They can think on their feet. I am not one of those who will say that these generations are shallow. This generation that they are shallow or they are not grounded. I don't believe so. I believe they have advantage over our own generation. Okay, in the sense that they were born into the information age. They are coping with one kind of speed that a new brand of speed that the world has provided, which is tied to the digital operation of the universe. And I think that is a privilege to listen to them. Some of the language they use, some of us don't even understand it.
So if I may just come in here, as I know what you think, but it looks to me that data for communication, data again to belong, to be part of what's going on.
I agree with what he said earlier on, because as for me, if I have data, sometimes I used to forget that I'm not eating. You go, yes, you go on social media, you see a lot of things. Yes.
Very true.
It helps you take your mind off the hunger.
Very true.
So
This is powerful.
So, but you know that data is not natural. Hunger will see more at the appropriate time. But like you said, they know they can fix food.
If you are
But
on
data
the
is
net
physical.
for some time with friends, you may even find who you can go and.
Exactly. And to chip something in. to chip something in. What's the word? There's this trend online now on Twitter and Instagram. You see some people say when they live alone or they're in school, they will see the gates of heaven before they go and look for food. That's hunger would have almost killed them before they stand up and say, okay, I think, because most of the time you are busy, you are doing something, you are talking to someone, you are trying to put something. So it's when your belly begins to tap you that, bro, are you want to die? And you're like, okay, I think this one I should.
But there's this thing you guys do too, where maybe the president of the country is making a speech, or someone very prominent has made a speech, and have made some errors. Then you go mix it into some.
By all means.
And
Did you like
you put it on Twitter. The Twitter space is very violent, and I think it's predominantly that violence does not come from the elderly.
No,
we don't have the time.
It's not about violence.
Why is this so?
It's not about violence.
No, violence in quote.
It's not about violence. What do we call it?
It's what we call it is
Violence.
violence. And to some extent, if I will update you, we call it cooking. So when there is trouble and someone is trying to piss you off, and the person says that, okay, maybe I insult you, and we see that he's insulting you, and we're waiting for a response from you, we say, okay, we are here, we'll receive this cooking. When you see it online, just know that that's what you are saying. So they might comment on my post of me trying to make you fight me and say, okay, well done, sir, we see the cooking, we are waiting.
And then this emoji that you guys created, is it frog or something?
Yeah, exactly. That's this, you put it on people's heads. I know the way you're talking about.
You say something like, you are gathering momentum. Where do you put it? They just put that violence. It's a symbol of.
For when you see it, you know, okay, someone has cooked here or someone is about to cook.
Yeah. So now we're still talking about dealing with Sapa, right? So data, of course, we now know that
Comes before.
Data comes before everything else. Absolutely, like I said, the commercial said data is life.
So does it mean that a huge chunk of your funds as students goes to data?
Yes.
You don't want to check my analytics on my phone to see how much data I consume in a month.
The reason I'm asking is while we were in school, we didn't have, in fact, the internet wasn't there. Even phone. Phone came in 2001. You understand? And I was in school before 2001. And there was no internet whatsoever. We only read about it. Even though it has been invented since 1980, it was not democratized, it was not all over the place. So what we did then with our time is we gathered physically, okay? And then not like we didn't do much of what they do today, that we now have symbols of what they use for violence. We have
emojis and
different emojis for different, for communications, because communication today has gone beyond just you and I talking physically. There are some symbols you just throw out there and people start to respond. But there is this thing about, I don't know why is the Twitter space, let me ask, since I'm with you guys now, why is the Twitter space so much of
so toxic?
Yes, it's toxic. It's heavy. It's full of attack. And some of this attack, there's one they call savage response.
Savage reply.
Savage replies and all that. Why is it like that? Are we violent, or are we? It's just that we want to create, we want to mock people, or what exactly is going on in that space?
For me, if I would answer that question, for me personally, I feel there is something about Twitter and dark humor that just draws us in. Instagram is to showcase the fly life you're living. WhatsApp is for easy contact to your family, friends, and everything. But Twitter is where, okay, everybody's all relaxed and stuff, okay? What is going on? Who can we piss off? Let's make someone angry. Let's tell someone you don't look so good.
For the time by nature.
Also,
that kind of thing.
let me contribute to that. Also, some of them are there just to chase cloud, and also they felt like, okay, social media these days you make money out of there. By the time you start making trouble and all of that, one or two people go and say, who is this person?
Exactly.
Before
The
you know,
followership will increase.
And then become influencer. And then start making money.
Some names are coming to my head right
So
now.
who are you doing it now to make money?
Let me not mention.
Okay, so what could be other things that take money that lead to Sapa on?
Other things that lead to Sapa.
Yeah, so for example, we've talked of data as being priority, you know, the internet and then food, for example. So what else do you spend money on?
From the student perspective, lifestyle. There are people that they want to enjoy themselves, feel among, and cut your coat according to your cloth, your material. It is non-existent in our world. It's not people. It's not something that readily appeals to a typical Gen Z. They're like, just find a way around it. So if it's well, how do we say that thing when there's it's your last cash and you're craving something? I just say, if I perish, I perish. You just go out and you spend it. Then it's the realization of perishing, and that brings you to, okay, now Sapa is here. What are we going to do? So that's trying to live up to some certain standards.
So what I say is that you first of all yield to your desires.
By all means, it's popular.
Then the reality of the condition becomes an afterthought.
Exactly. It has a name. It's just called self-love. You know, there's the reality of this. There are these things some people say that on Facebook about they say things like, don't let somebody's opinion become a reality.
Yeah.
Just because something happened last night doesn't mean that I'm dead. You know, so I sometimes I tease this lady of this kind, I'm like, are you not among them? Don't let what happened here. So now self-love. So you want to get data, you want to get food, you want to get clothing. How is it that on this list of, let's even say first three, for example, we've not talked about books, we've not talked about journals, we've not talked about, say for example, the things that count for.
You know, I'm surprised that book did not top the list. I'm surprised because my time were not like we're more serious than this generation. But if you want to count the priorities, we'd rather say books than food and all that. We start to list from the most serious angle of life. But these days, they are telling you that it's data.
Just because I'm buying more data than books doesn't mean that I'm not serious with my studies.
That's a very valid.
You can use data to speed of life.
I was about to check that in, not to sell us Gen Z short. Now, the thing is, there are those of us that are academically inclined, but they don't strike you as such when you see them. There are a lot of, they are out there, they talk, they do everything. But when they're in their own space, even with their phones, from books to self-help books and all this kind of thing, they do it. But I think for me, my personal opinion, the major difference from, say, our own generation and is, for instance, is those things that are priority, books and everything, that is the first thing for everybody. Then there are people that, the remnants, that they just party and all this kind of stuff. Majorly then, people used to study, then as there now a select few that they don't study. Now it is people party, a select few that study.
Why
so
is it
it's
so?
Self-love, I think.
All right then, on the strength of what you said, David, we are going to take this very quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about what exactly do you do when the pockets are dry. Stay with us. All right, it's still the full House here on Let's Talk About Tomorrow, you won't believe the thoughts and the things we've got to learn just sitting and talking about dealing with Sapa with young people who, I mean, the house is still very much open. There's no need to make a petition to it. Is everyone have your say? Now, but when Sapa don't land, how do you exactly cope?
Some people borrow from their friends. I'm not one of those. But some people borrow from their friends. We go around looking for student jobs. Some people might look for maybe tutoring or so. Maybe some even go close to their lecturers just to find little things they can do.
Do you decide also?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
But personally, on the side, I'm a voiceover artist and I make footwear crafts too. I learned that already.
Obviously, your voice is... when I walked into the studio and had your voice, I was like, gentleman.
So for me, handling Sapa, I would say, okay, realistically speaking, I'm a guy, I'm in school. One thing we do, really, we anticipate Sapa.
Yeah.
So by way of
You
that,
can tell the signs.
we see it. So when you see glimpses and you just you want to maybe just satisfy a craving of one really cold drink on one hot afternoon in school, and you check your balance and you just do the math and you're like, okay, in a week's time I have to do something about this thing. If not, I know where I'm going. So by way of what she said, side hustles, you have to embrace it. For most of us now, parents are last resort because we want to sort of like subscribe to that ideology of independence. But when we see that everything is not independencing, let me put it like that, we then call...
It's your language. Language. Your skin is skin.
Exactly.
Your shoe is shoeing.
All this kind of... Yeah, exactly. When they tell you it's given, if Gen Z tells you it's given, take it as a serious compliment. We don't just say it anywhere.
You don't say it.
Yeah, so...
It's a superlative expression.
Exactly, that kind of thing.
Regina, what has been your worst experience with Sapa? How hard did it bite you?
For me, my school is not far from my house, so whenever I feel it, I go back to my house.
You take shelter.
I don't like to get to that point. Okay. I usually go back to my house.
Okay.
But I remember that in the school then, when, because our brand of Sapa, what we call Sapa today, our brand of Sapa is what I would call close Sapa. Darkest time. You know why I say so?
Why is it?
We write letters in those days. You write a letter, you go and post it. Only God knows where that letter is going to.
You post
it may not get to your parents.
It doesn't know what you're talking about.
Okay, doesn't know what I'm talking about. What I mean is, if you want to ask your parents for money,
okay, so
write a
the
letter.
letter is what you carry the message.
Yes, so you now post it. So any day you get it, you now read. And find out what is going on.
There's no way you can verify receipt.
You don't be hoping against hope. Until that, most times, I wrote letters those times from the University of Jos down to Delta, where my parents were. It didn't get to them until about 2 months. Sometimes it got to them while I'm on holiday with them. You don't understand. So, and that's why I call it close Sapa, or the darkest of it.
Yeah,
those days you just survive. I remember there was a week, I and my roommate, we had to soak Gary for 1 straight week. We're not seeing properly again. And we have to stay overnight because law is not a cause. If you play for 1 hour, you will see it in your result. You will see it clearly that this is that 1 hour I gave to something else. So it's a very dark one. But today, the Gen Z, you can send a WhatsApp message, call, move around. People always know how you are faring at every given point. It was not like that in our time.
It must have been.
And if you see us in those days when we are returning to school, if you see the load and the details,
okay,
like we have ingredients for different kind of bags. Like we are prepared. When you see us moving to street like a sailor that is going from the long for like 6 months, that's how we prepare. So that we have factored in Sapa, we have factored in everything into that one trip. Because the moment you get it wrong from there, you don't
might never get it.
Yes, you don't have to work there. So that is the difference between our generation and this. The speed is quite very significant.
The way it happens now is like this, and you're there. But back then, I mean, you could just. So, but I wanted to also ask, because Sapa is a very serious issue. I mean, you couldn't pretend about it if you didn't have enough money in your pocket, right? Food, data, or transport, all sorts of things. You are grounded, really. But as young people, what do we do? What do you do? I mean, if you had an opportunity of making some quick bucks, even if it won't be the right way to make it, what do you then do?
When I was a student, the way I deal with it is this, like, if I'm broke, normally I don't like making hair because it's stressful. But if I'm broke, I'm open to any kind of work, fixing of nails, latches, making of
side hustle, you mean?
Yes, in the hostel. My hostel is a very large hostel, in the hostel to be precise. So getting customer was not that difficult. So you see a lot of people. So, and again, whenever I'm broke, I have a roommate called Aisha. She used to know. She used to know. Yes, she used to know.
Okay, roommates also.
Emphasis on roommate.
Aisha will be like, Esther, what's wrong with you? I'll say nothing. Say idiot. It's like say this girl don't broke. I take, they go, come on, make a zero. You know, she would assist me with any amount of money. So that's how I was able to deal with my own Sapa.
Almost everything you do on campus or even in real life has to do with money. Like I said, transport, food, a whole lot. Especially for those in families, you know, taking care of children, the household, and so on. So it is something that I mean, we can by no means think that we've exhausted the conversation. But of course, I think if there's something we've taken away today is the fact that Sapa is real, it happens. Sometimes it could be extreme, sometimes it could be mild. Sometimes you could have somebody close by that helps. Sometimes it could stretch for as long as possible.
It knows no gender.
It knows no gender. It doesn't know high or low.
It doesn't discriminate.
It doesn't discriminate.
Importantly, David did say that you can see the signs. Yeah, I think that to an extent, if we are careful and wise, is that the word? And if we are prudent, prudent. You can plan, you can tell, and perhaps if you're disciplined enough to hold some things back, maybe Sapa doesn't happen as often as.
But it says self-love is.
I
was about to say so. The key word you used, discipline.
Discipline, yes.
Because,
there are some things there are some values that transcend generations, whether it's Gen Z or not.
Principles are.
I mean,
it doesn't matter the generation.
It doesn't matter. And principles don't know man or woman, boy or girl, old or young.
Yeah, once you apply it,
yes. Like you were saying, if you left love for an hour, it will tell you if you change the result. If you shift off the side also, you also talked about having something you do on the sidelines, so you're able to document what you're. So I think we've had quite a good time here. But just to wrap up the thoughts now, if we're looking at self-love versus discipline, because I mean something drives everything, doesn't it? Sapa is driven by something. It is when I was in school, there was a day I had to trek about 3 hours to my class.
Wow.
3 hours.
3 hours.
3 hours, like 12 p.m. to 3 p.m.
So let me give you the details. That morning, I left home to 7. My class was for 10 a.m. I left home to 7. Just as I got to my class, it was 10 minutes to 10. My lecturer was walking in when I also walked in with him. So I knew, but to think of it, I had used my money for something else. For a good cause, which means it became a sacrifice, for something. And so I had to deal with the fact that I had spent my money for what it wasn't originally meant to be spent on.
Exactly.
And so I had to bear the brunt. And I didn't have to say, I have to bear the brunt and trek that long, 3 solid hours to class. It wasn't a funny experience.
Obviously. One thing I'm taking away is with what he said about what I would like to term the dark times.
Yeah.
When you write, I think I'm glad I'm Gen Z.
You can't imagine it. I'm proud. In those days, it takes a lot. When you want to go and see an uncle, for example, from school, you just take your bag there. You left your uncle's house. They say you just left to Meduguri yesterday. You don't have transport to come back. So the next thing you start to parabolate around the neighborhood to find a friend of your uncle who is unkind, who won't listen to you. So sometimes you are just stranded. You're on the street.
You just travel blind.
Yeah, you travel blind. The world is done like that. Yes, so you just move. It's like a pilot. You know, pilot fly blind. When an aircraft is going on the air, it's not like it's seeing the road. It's the compass that shows. Just like we're here, the aircraft is moving, it flies blind. So that was how the world was then. You don't even have any means of communication. If you have to make a phone call, you have to queue. And then University of Jos will have to go and take number. And before you go to your turn to use a Nigetel analog line, it may be 2 days after you have taken number.
Sounding like fiction.
and it never goes through. It never goes through. And if it manages to ring at the other end, it's either your call is not taken, or luckily somebody picks it and says your uncle is not around.
Wow.
Because the phone is not mobile phone. It's not a mobile station, it's a house phone. So the person has to be around the area for them to get through to you and all that. So it's quite a difficult time.
It was a lot, obviously.
Yeah, I was just wondering if on the solutions and we could just speak a bit to what it takes to, how we each will try to develop that discipline that enables us to, for example, plan, because if you don't plan, to plan and to be able to project. I mean, planning is for finance as a student. If you imbibe that value, it saves you for life, and it's something that you're going to find useful for a very long time.
Yes.
Planning matters.
They say that planning saves you 80% in execution.
You can imagine.
Yeah, if you plan proper, and if you are a cross-border generation human like we, I'm cross-border. I remember the first time I signed on Facebook in 2007. Facebook in 2006. I didn't have the luxury to get an account then, so I got an account in 2007. When I got in and I started using the Facebook thing, I just noticed that I was seeing all my friends who have been over there. I could advertise my business. People could call me from there. If I put I was wondering, I was asking my friend, are you sure we're not born too early? We're supposed to wait a little bit. Because the thing was like magic. You understand? People who you don't know, they are sending you friend requests. You reply, you are communicating and all that. You see synergy and all that.
Of course.
So I think the world is quite far better today than it was in the past. In so many ways. And both sides have their advantages and disadvantages.
Well,
just to wrap up, as regards planning, it came to my mind. There's something
because you seem like a natural plan fixer of things.
No, I try, but I'm not where I want to be yet.
Okay.
So I think there are people that have seen that problem in the Gen Z circle in terms of financial planning. So I don't know, not to mention names or free whatever here. There are some firms that they have done apps and financial apps that you can automate your savings such that when you spend a particular amount of percentage of what is spent goes into savings. So you, in a very subtle way, you would say you have something to fall back to from time to time. So there are some those are one of the ways that we try to compensate for our recklessness in our generation.
Katrina, between self-love and discipline?
I have a way to balance it, because in the end, if you if you overspend, it's not really self-love because you're not thinking about your future self. So I have to find the balance. So that's what I do. I find the balance.
So yeah.
Like my dad would say, my dad, and he would be like, Esther, Mashachni, that pattern, and it could look at Chani when we date it. So meaning, fashion is not something that you'll be left behind, like whether you have money or not. Be content with whatever you have at that moment. In the future, you might have money and then you'll be the talk of town. So as for the Gen Z, they should be patient and manage whatever they have. I'm not Gen Z.
Don't preach to them. It will be But you see, the thing is, they are an exciting lot. I mean, yes, you enjoy having these interactions with them and to know that indeed we can't all see the world the same way. We can't all think in the same direction, and that the way the world was a century ago is not the way it is now. I know that. I mean, growing up, we used to hear like children of nowadays. I think it's basically the same thing. Smarter, sort of showing more more promise of speed and all of that, especially in the way we process things. I mean, what they expect from the generation that is growing up on gadgets.
You need to look at what they did with the NSAS.
It was unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Coordinated.
Community, government,
they
leadership,
smarter than government. The government would not factor out how they were being funded. And was cryptocurrency, government
yes,
nobody to hold, just
for an arrest.
Yes, sir.
Working on automation.
Blockchain technology.
Yes.
So it tells you that you can give birth to children, but you cannot determine what their formation will become. The government pride itself to have the monopoly of violence. Before the NSAP, they thought they have everybody in their arms, like
even that is changing.
But when they hope that the youths were communicating with Jack Dorsey, the former owner of Twitter, directly, and we got an emoji for the NSAS. The video was in Abuja, so for one of the outings. He said, what's his name? The husband to this American artist called him.
I'm going to pick the name now.
Yes.
Is it Chris Brown?
No, not Chris Brown.
Okay.
The very popular,
not Jay-Z.
Beyonce's husband.
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z called him. One of the American artists called him. What is going on in your country? What is NSAS? You understand? They just with their phones.
We turned it into a global discourse.
They turned it into something that the government could not contain it. All they did was just to take soldiers there. And that's what they will understand. So I'm saying that let us not undermine the power that every generation has to bear. Both politics, economy. If we want every generational line to think the same way, it means that the world has failed. The William Shakespeare's of this world, the Socrates, the Euripides, and those fundamental philosophers of the old, the way they conducted themselves, most of them who produce more thoughts than many of our religious leaders today. To even shock some of these Gen Z, do you know that Socrates, for example, predated Jesus?
Yeah, sure.
He was before Christ. Aristotle, Aristotle was before Christ. Do you believe that?
I didn't.
They were all before Christ. You understand? So Christ came in later on. Christ took it from the religious point of view. Those guys took it from the very academic point of view, research and findings. You understand? So the world has now grown. The sky is large for everyone. All we need to do is to empower our youths.
And not clip our wings.
Empower them. That is the only way you can do. We have a president that said the youth were lazy. That was the statement of discourse. We should rather take all the resources left in this country to empower the youth. Sit back and watch and see the world.
You'd be amazed if you put 10, 20 of them in a room, what they come out with.
And ask them questions. I interface with them a lot and I ask them questions. And I see that their thoughts are original.
Very original.
Very original.
Unique.
Yes.
Unique. Yeah. So if there's one thing we're taking away again today, it will be the issue of values. He has talked about, you talked of planning, right?
Yes, I
You
did.
talked of planning and being able to see the signs.
She talked about being contented too.
She talked about being content. And she also talked about
Balance,
wisdom.
life balance.
Life balance. If you're spending more than you're
It's
earning,
not also self-love.
it's no longer what it should
Self-love,
be.
yeah.
Yeah. So guys, I think it's been a robust, it's been a fine time talking to all of you here on Enterprise TV. It's been Let's Talk About Tomorrow. I do hope that with these few points of ours, we've been able to, what's the word?
Convince and not to confuse you.
And that we can all do something to reduce how much of Sapa that comes our way. Until next time, we bring Let's Talk About Tomorrow. I'm Cyril Abakon on behalf of everybody here, the total number of everybody here. Bye for now.
Enterprise TV,